further ado, we're going to try to kick this off so that we don't keep you all waiting. Um, just as a primary check, can we get a yes if you can hear me and you can see me? Just put up a yes on the chat and that'll be amazing, and we'll know that you can. All right, thank you, Zihan. All right, thank you. All right, awesome. So once again, before I pass the ball to the speaker, I'm going to do a bit of an introduction and tell you a little bit about why you're here today and why we are doing this. The title of today's webinar is Effective Analytics Using Power BI, a very in-demand tool that is used by industries across the globe in order to perform data analytics on the data that they continuously keep getting. And today's webinar is focused on giving you a little bit more knowledge on how you can learn and make it more efficient for yourself as well as for your business, right? So this 1 hour is an appreciation. And beyond that, we do have more details about a full-length course that you could potentially take up if you wanted, or if you wanted your organization to pick that skill up and learn. Before we get into that, a little bit about who we are and what and why we are doing this. So our company is called Xaltius, which essentially means, towards higher excellence. And, we are a training and education provider, and we sit at the backbone of many of the, the major education providers in Singapore. And our niche skill is in data analytics, data science, and we have been upskilling and reskilling people over the past 5 years in these particular areas. We have also been helping individuals, pick up all the latest industry skills so that they can use it on the job. And that's the role we play, with you and with any of the partners that we work with. Now, let me put across a thought into your head before we start off. So if you know even a little bit about data analytics or data itself, there is this famous personality called Jeffrey Moore, who basically said that without data analytics, companies are blind and deaf. And it's like, a deer is going out on the freeway and just running, which means that an organization doesn't know, or an individual doesn't know what to do next, right? So this thought is what everybody has, and our intention is to try and steer that thought in the right direction, right? Give it some base, give it some foundation, and give you a glimpse of, what can be achieved and what you are missing out on, or what organizations are missing out on. I think that's the main intention of today. So I'm happy to introduce our speaker, who is Gauri. And she will be, through the next 45 to 50 minutes or so, running you through a very beautifully curated presentation and a real-time demo of how you can actually leverage on a tool, and why today, organizations have started moving towards something like this. So you can also see her on the screen there, and she would be the one taking over later. Now, before I pass the ball to her to start the presentation or to start the webinar proper, I'd like to get a little more information from all of you so that, we can use that as part of the webinar here today. So why don't you all try to head to this particular website, which is called menti.com, key in the code there or scan the QR code, and it'll lead you to a page where we have 2 simple questions for you just to understand you better, right? So if you can just do that, I'll hang here for about 30 seconds so you all have access to that. I will also put the code down for you on the chat so you can actually copy paste it out. So you can copy paste it out from the chat, or if you're on your phone, you can scan the QR code. Now, that's basically going to lead you to a page where you have a couple of questions, and you'll see that on the screen shortly. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to try and answer the question that you see on the screen, right? And that'll give us a little bit more idea about who you are. Right. So if you see on the screen, thank you for your answers. By the way, you all are very prompt. The first question that comes about is, how often do you use Excel, right? And the reason we've put this question is because what you're going to be looking at today is very complementary to people who are using Excel either on a daily basis or sometimes very or frequently in their day-to-day work. It could be for anything in particular, but you would get a good avenue to start learning Power BI. And thank you for your reply. So we see that a lot of you are using it daily. Some of you are using it frequently. So that's great to see. All right, let's move to the next one very quickly, which is a more open-ended question. So you should see the next question popping up on your screen as well. This is a more open-ended question, requires you to type a few words, which is, when you create a visual or a report on Excel, right? What do you find missing, or what do you try to look for the most? And you think, hey, if this was there, my life would have been a lot better. So try to key in something. It'll pop up on the screen, and we'll be able to see that up here as well. Customize details. All right. All right. We'll wait for a few more people to key in their answers as well. No idea. Okay. All right. I think that you're at the right place, so to get a better idea of what you need to be doing. All right. We just hang for about 20 seconds and then we'll move on from here. Okay. Structure in the data. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for your replies. And with that, that's a little bit of an introduction to kind of help you get started. And what I'm going to be doing from here is I'm going to pass it to Gauri, and you'll see me at the end of the session again to provide you more details. But in the meantime, Gauri, you can go ahead and take it ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Aditya. Thanks for the wonderful introduction about me as well. Let me go ahead and share my screen first. And hi, everyone. Okay, again, I'll be needing a confirmation that everybody is able to see my screen and hear me as well. You can use the same method of typing in a yes if you can see my screen and hear me. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. So about me, I am Gauri, and I'm a data professional with over 6 years of experience. Have worked a lot with data in my entire career, and I'm going to walk you through today's webinar. Quickly, what we are going to see today as part of this webinar is what exactly is data analytics and what is the current practices in the industry looks like. We are going to walk through a few business cases of Power BI and how the future of data analytics looks like, and how companies are adopting data analytics. At the end of today's webinar, I'm going to take a few questions and answers as well if you have any. So a quick look at how much data we generate every single day. So we generally do generate a huge volume of data every single day, and the volume is so huge that if you look at the cartoon to the right hand side, it says that big data is going to impact us soon, and it's so huge that we have to call Bruce Willis. So the volume of data that we are generating every single day is about 2.5 quintillion, which is a 2.5 with 17 trailing zeros. So that's the bytes of data that we are generating every single day. So it's huge, right? So with this amount of data, the question that organizations do ask is that, what can we do with the data? So again, with this volume of data, definitely we don't keep this data aside. We can do a lot of things with this data. Like we can explore the data, deep dive into the data to identify a lot of meaningful insights, get a conclusion from the data, create dashboards, create reports, and make certain predictions. So we try to understand a trend within the data. We try to make certain business decisions based on this data. So when we can do so many things with the data, then let us try to break down what exactly is data analytics, because we are hearing this term a lot, data analytics. Let's try to understand what exactly does this mean. Again, a cartoon out there is that if Santas were real in this era of data, he would definitely gifted us something based on some data-driven insights from the wish is history that we would have. So that's about data analytics. It's all data-driven, right? So when we are talking about what is data analytics, if we try to look up to the definition of data analytics in the Wikipedia, it's all about discovery, interpretation, and communication of certain meaningful patterns in the data. So it allows us to find a certain pattern in the data based on which we can take certain business decisions that makes our business profitable, maybe. But in a layman term, I would say that data analytics is a big umbrella. It's a huge spectrum which takes into account a lot of things. Like we get the data, and the data that we get from various sources are not always clean, right? So data analytics is the process where we try to get the data from certain sources. We try to clean the data up, and trust me or not, 80% of the time actually goes in the transformation and cleaning of that data. So data analytics is not a single entity, but it takes into account a lot of things like cleaning up the data, exploring the data, drilling down to the data to actually identify what is really happening within that data itself. And then from that, we try to make certain business decisions. We try to gather certain insights, take certain actions based on those insights, and probably help the business to make it more profitable. So this entire journey is what we call it as data analytics. And definitely, we use a lot of tools to do each of these steps, which I'm going to walk you through in the next few slides. Yeah. So if we are looking at data analytics, we get to see a lot of use cases in our daily lives as well. For example, if you try to gauge how much time does it take for you to go to work from your home, probably you search, you look up in the Google map, and that gives you a predicted time. If you try to plan for a coffee or a jog in the ECP in the evening, probably you get to see the weather forecast, and based on that, you take a certain decision. If you are investing in stocks, probably you get to see the trend of how the performance of that stocks is. So if you look around, everything that you see, every decision you are making is based on data you see. So there is data and there is data analytics, which allows us to take certain decision, which is beneficial for us. So after understanding the definition of data analytics, if I try to pictorially represent what I just mentioned, is that we have big data. So if you look at the picture here, this is what big data is. And analytics is basically the bridge that converts this big data, which is very messy, to something more structured, more clean, that enables us to make effective decisions for our business. And that is what analytics is all about. So now, after we have understood what is data analytics and where all we can see data analytics in our daily lives, let us see how analytics have also matured over a period of time. So like anything else, analytics also had a journey. So earlier on, we were more focused in understanding what has happened within the data and trying to figure out why did it happen within that data. So we had the raw data, we used to clean it up and then create some standard data reports, standard data visualizations, where we spend most of our time engaging what has happened in the data and why did it happen. And that part is basically the descriptive analytics. Maturity of analytics capability took us to the next stage. So analytics matured a little more, and then we were able to also identify or also predict what is going to happen in the future. And that is where the predictive analytics is coming into the picture. And then analytics has matured enough today to actually recommend certain things, actually optimize our decisions. We can decide on what is the best that can happen, and that is known as the prescriptive analytics. And this wraps up what is data analytics and how analytics have matured over a period of time. Next, we are going to look at the life cycle of data analytics. So data analytics, when we are talking about data analytics, I just explained that it takes into account a lot of things. It's a big umbrella. So data analytics is a journey. So it has a starting point, it has an end point. So how the journey looks like is something like this that you see on my screen, which takes into account, again, a lot of components. So it starts off with understanding what is the business problem, understanding the needs of your stakeholders probably, or need of your business. And then after you have understood what exactly the problem is, you try to go to the phase of designing some solution where you try to gather information, you try to gather data, explore the data, clean the data up, and probably come up with some solution development phase where you try to build and test out certain models, you validate certain things, and finally you iterate a few steps of developing the solution, piloting the solution, and deploying the solution. So in this iterative phase, you take into consideration a lot of things. You take into consideration how the performance is of the model that you have designed or the solution you have designed. And then probably you take into account a lot of feedbacks from your clients or stakeholders or whoever is, testing the solution out. Now, once you are satisfied with the deployment of the solution, probably you go to the next step to understand the success of it. Now, this success can be measured in terms of running net promoter score surveys, customer satisfaction surveys, gauging the return of investment. You can identify, you can design certain success metrics that allows you to actually gauge how your solution is performing. And then finally, when you are satisfied with the metrics as well, you try to finalize the solution. You try to transit the solution to business as usual, and that brings you to the end of this journey. So you see, you start with understanding the problem and you end towards deploying the solution and making that as a business as usual. So that this entire process, you don't have to repeat over and over again, but that becomes a daily part of your business. So that's about the journey that we are talking about here with data analytics. So quickly reiterating the 4 types of analytics, which I mentioned on the maturity of analytics capability is descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. Now you will notice that there is a diagram towards the right-hand side of my slide, which actually puts in complexity in the x-axis of the diagram and value to the y-axis of the diagram. So if I have to explain you this diagram, I can say that descriptive analytics is about trying to understand what is happening within the data, and descriptive analytics is less complex than the other types of analytics. The next part or next type of analytics is diagnostic analytics, where we try to figure out why did something happen within the data. So for example, if you are working with retail data, you're working with sales data, you try to see what has happened within the data, whether the sales performance have gone up, gone down. If it has gone down, you try to figure out why exactly the sales have gone down over a period of time. So you diagnose the problem, and that is a little more complex and adding a little more value to your analysis. The next type of analytics is predictive analytics, where you try to look at the future. So you try to figure out how the sales or how the revenue for the next few years going to look like. And definitely you can understand, since you are predicting something, that adds a lot of value to your analysis, but that's a bit more complex as well. The final type of analytics that I'm going to discuss here is the prescriptive analytics, which is the best that can happen, meaning you're optimizing your results, you're optimizing your business decisions, and definitely you use a lot of powerful methodologies out there, and you recommend certain actions. And that's the bigger circle that you see, and that is adding a lot of value to your business analysis, and that's a bit more complex as well. All right, so that's about the 4 types of analytics that we have. And then we are going to look at the current data analytics practices in the industry today. Again, if we look around, right, we get to see a lot of analytics use cases. Now, you look through education, so we are heading towards smart education setting where we can engage the learners, where we can track how the performance of the trainees are, how the performance of the trainers are, and a lot more things. And we are working towards building a product like that as well. So that's about the education. And then we have in the medical industry as well, we do have use cases of data analytics to actually predict whether tumors are benign or cancerous. In the social media entertainment industry, you do have recommendations, right? So if you are watching Netflix, you watch a certain movie, you watch a certain series, and then you get a bunch of recommendations on what to watch next. So all these are possible because there is data, and analytics. Look at the retail. So everybody purchases from Lazada, Amazon, right? So you make a purchase and then it gives you a whole bunch of recommendations. You end up buying those products as well, even if you don't need it. And that is where, that is how the analytics is leading the world today. So this was about a few use cases that we can see, but definitely you are going to get a lot more use cases, right? So in the chat box, can you put in some of the use cases that you have heard of with data analytics that you have come across in your daily lives, maybe? You can put up in the chat box if you can just type it down. Anything that you might have come across. What are the different use cases? It can be anything around, right? Okay, never mind. If you have not come across anything, then probably I'm going to give you a few more examples. So the transactions that you are doing for your banks, right? You go to a bank to actually ask for loan or credit card, and then the bank decides whether to proceed with the credit card, whether to proceed with that loan or not, based on the detailed history about the customer transactions that has happened. So there are a lot of use cases around you if you look around, and everything entails data and analytics. So next, let us look at some of the business scenarios that we have in place, and let's look at some exciting demos that I'm going to walk you through today. So the tool that we are introducing you to is Power BI. And Power BI is a Microsoft product. And if you look at this report, right, this is a report that is generated by Gartner every year. And we can see that Microsoft is in the leader quadrant, and Power BI is a product by Microsoft. And that is the reason in the beginning also we had a discussion on how often you are using Excel, because the integration of Excel with Power BI is fantastic, though it offers a lot more than Excel. But the integration is nice because both are Microsoft's product. And if we look at the market share of the top intelligence software, there are a lot of players out in the market, right? And there are players like Tableau, ClickSense, SAP Analytics, MicroStrategy, so on and so forth. But we can see that Microsoft Power BI is the leader, and it is holding around 36% of the market share, which is huge, right? All right. So let us look at the organizations, the companies that are using Microsoft Power BI. We have a whole bunch of companies that are using Power BI, like EY. So these are organizations that are, using Power BI for a long time now. And you can see a lot of other organizations also that is using Power BI as their daily reporting tool. So you have Bayer, you have KPMG, you have HP, so on and so forth. And let me introduce you to Power BI now, and let me walk you through why Power BI is something that is a buzz today, and how organizations are benefited using Power BI, and why why organizations are adopting Power BI over other business intelligence tools. So the benefits of Power BI for your business is that it's very easy to use. And I'm going to walk you through a demo today where you can see that it in no time we can actually come up with certain reports, and we can try to understand certain business questions as well. It's cost effective. Um, you don't have to pay a lot of amount. The Power BI desktop comes in free to use, and that's what we install it in our machines. It's simple. The collaboration is fantastic, and then you can actually create a lot of good custom displays. You can perform data modeling, meaning that you don't need to worry about creating the dashboards, the reports over and over again. If you have the source of data, you design the steps of data transformation, data cleaning, and finally coming up with a dashboard. And this process gets automated. Next time when you have new sets of data, you just refresh these dashboards, and then it automatically goes through that journey that you have designed. So that is the beauty of Power BI. It saves you a lot of time as well. So getting to know about Power BI, as I mentioned, that the integration of Power BI with Excel is fantastic, but it allows you over 70 plus data sources to connect to. So your data can be residing in your SAP, your data can be residing in your Salesforce, your data can be in your SurveyMonkey, so on and so forth. You don't really need to worry about that. You can connect Power BI to all those sources, go through the process of data transformation, data cleaning, and that step is automated. And finally, get out the Power BI reports, dashboards that you can present to your client, present to your stakeholders, and take certain business decisions that makes your business helpful. So that is about the journey in short with Power BI. All right. So here I'm going to walk you through a demo where there is there is some data that we are having, and for an organization, the head of the retail says that, well, with the data that we are using, the sales data, we had a good year. It seems that we had a good year. Now he wants to highlight the key months, the effective months where the sales have happened the most, and he wants to look at certain metrics as well. Metrics like the total profit, the total sales that they have made, team to come up with a BI report that he can showcase to the stakeholders. Now he approaches his employees, and some employees, based on the intuition, right, they say that probably the key months got to be December, January, or February, because I do shopping then. So if you see this, the conclusion that this employee is drawing is based on her intuition, based on her usability pattern, or based on her pattern of buying things. There's another employee who says that I believe it has to be the mid-year because the profit margin is high. Then. But if you look at both the comments, it is based on intuition completely. This is not data driven. So we don't really know whether the conclusion is correct or not. And then there is this employee who has taken a Power BI course with Xaltius recently, and he wants to try out the Power BI tool in order to answer this business question by the head of the retail. So let us look at the data and let us try to see how we can create a report very quickly to answer some of the business questions that that the head of the retail must be having. So let me stop sharing this screen now. And let me bring up the data first, and let me quickly create something for you. So this is how the data looks like. It's pretty big, and there are a lot of things. Now, if anybody gives me this data and asks me, okay, what is the month that is having the maximum sales or profit, how the trend looks like, and then how the key metrics looks like, oh my God, I cannot really answer that. Because if you look at the data, there are around 50,000 records, and there are a lot of information out there. So I'm going to connect this data to Power BI. So after I have connected the data with Power BI, I can see the same fields that I showed you just now gets imported to the Power BI environment. All right. And I'm going to create a report that allows me to answer some of the business questions that the head of the retail must be having. And for that, I first prefer to add in some background to my report that puts in a beautiful canvas and displays my visualizations better. And then the next thing that I got to do is to create a heading where I can say that what exactly I'm showing in this report, and that got to be the executive summary, because this is a high level summary that I am going to create. So I like formatting this visual a bit, because that's where data visualization is presenting how your visualizations looks like, right? So I'm going to add in some background to it with a blue shade, and then I'm going to add some borders as well, just to make the aesthetics nice. And I'll have some rounded edge to it. And then the executive summary, I'm going to increase the size of this and make it a bit central aligned and display this as a white text. Perfect. And now, since I'm going to show the metrics, because the head of the retail wants me to show the metrics, right? I probably want to show the metrics using something called a card in Power BI that shows the total amount of sales that this organization have generated, and doing a bit of formatting to this also, which shows me that the total amount of sales that is being generated is around $12.64 million. I want to firstly decrease the size of the value, and then probably do a bit of formatting to this, where I add in a title to the card, which shows anybody who looks at this report later that what exactly this card is showing. And then I turn off the category, and then a bit of formatting on the card itself, where I turn on the visual border and then make it white with some rounded border, and then resize this a bit to place it here. Now I'll just duplicate this card that shows the total profit as well, because that's the key metric that I want to show. I want to show the total sales that this organization is making. And then I'm going to quickly get rid of the sales there, and I'm going to drag in the profit to display the profit, and a bit of formatting to actually mention that this is a profit. Oops. A bit of formatting that I'm going to do is firstly to change the title that displays that this is a profit. Perfect. The next thing that I'm going to do is I want to showcase what is the sales trend looks like, because the sales head is more concerned about what are the key months that we are having in my data, right? So I'm going to create a line chart to show the trend, where I can actually display the sales for the different timeline that is happening. So I get to bring the sales and the date where the orders have been made, and that brings me to a line chart, a trend chart, where it shows me that usually the sales amount is higher during the months of June, July, which is the mid of the year, and it is high towards the end of the year as well. Perfect. So I'm going to add some title to this chart as well, a bit of formatting. And then I say sales by year and month, and make this central aligned, and a bit of formatting to maintain the consistency for all the visualizations in this page is I'm going to add some border to it, and that's going to be a white colored border with some rounded edge. Perfect. And then I'm going to align this a bit. Next, I'm going to also show that what are the cities that is giving me the highest profit, and what are the top 10 cities that is actually giving me the highest profit, because that is going to be a good thing to show to the head of the retail, which adds a lot of value to my visualization to the report as well. So I'm going to create a funnel chart where I get to show the cities and the profits that we have generated from these cities. And since there are a lot of cities out there, I don't really want to get into all the cities that is there in my data, but I want to actually display only the 10 cities that has higher amount of profit. So I generate the top 10 cities by profit, and that shows me that these are the 10 cities that is having the highest amount of profit. And I can see that New York City is number 1 and Mexico City is number 10, and I can see that 22% of the New York City's share is what Mexico City. So if I can do the comparison, it shows me where each of the city is lying compared to the New York City. And a bit of formatting won't hurt for this as well. I'm going to go ahead and provide a title. It's already provided automatically. I'm just going to make it central aligned to maintain that consistency. A bit of formatting will be to add some borders to this. Great. So this is about the profit by city. The top 10 profit by city. I can actually rename this to top 10. That's more intuitive. Top 10 cities by profit. All right. Next, what I want to show is I want to show the product subcategories, and I want to see how profitable these product subcategories are. So I'm going to create a simple column chart for this. A simple column chart, because this is something which everybody knows of, and this is something which is the basic chart that we use to showcase a lot of important information in our reports, right? So I'm going to show that how the product have been performing in terms of profit. And there I can see that copiers, phones, they are the products that are performing really well, whereas the table, if I hover my mouse, I can see that it's really low. It's negative, right? It's negative. So actually identify why the tables is giving me lesser profit or negative profit, and how I can focus on tables to increase the profitability, right? And that is what insights are. That is where actionable insights also comes into the picture. So we try to identify, is it because the return is not well for this particular company, or the quality of the tables are not well for this company, and things like that. So we get to know the focus area over here, right? So I'm going to just keep the consistency and maintain that central alignment of the title, and a bit of border. So just the same thing that I did earlier as well, to add those rounded edges. Great. So now that I have a few information out there, I can also try to create another visual that shows me how the performance of the shipping orders have been. So I have the order date, I have the shipping date. I want to actually identify that what is the shipping time this company is taking, this organization is taking, for which I have to create something. I have to derive a column to actually measure what is the shipping time that is being taken by this company. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to say the shipping time. And I'm going to get this in terms of days, by the way. So I calculate the date difference, and I calculate the order date and the shipping date in terms of days, and that gives me the date difference. And then I want to calculate the average shipping days, because I want to see like what is the average shipping days for each order. So I'm going to go ahead and create an aggregated measure that gives me the average of this shipping time, which is a very simple calculation, to be honest. It's just about telling Power BI that I want to get the average shipping time, which is average of the ship time that I created. And then we are going to see for different shipping orders that I'm having, how the shipping time looks like. Okay. So I have the ship mode over here, which I'm going to bring in to my visualization. And I do have the average shipping time that I just created now. And I'm going to convert this to 0 decimal places, because it doesn't really make sense to see an average day of 2.18. So I'm going to convert it to a 0 decimal place. And that takes some time to update. Perfect. And I'm going to sort this. And it shows me that the same day delivery is the same day. Actually, it's 0 day. The first class is 2 days, the second class is 3 days, whereas the standard class is 5 days, right? So this is beautiful. And then I'm going to some background and border. So I maintain the consistency with 12px and align this a bit to display everything. Perfect. Now you can see that this dashboard that I have created, this report that I have created, is highly interactive, meaning that if I select the New York City, you will notice that what is the metrics of New York City in terms of total sales, total profit, and how the performance of the sales have been over a period of time. Similarly, if I click on Sydney, it's going to show me how the performance of the sales in Sydney is, right? So this is a highly interactive report. And I can also add in more interactive elements which allows the report users, the retail head probably, to play around with the different countries, play around with the different timeline, and so on. So I'm going to very quickly show you that as well, where, sorry, where I'm going to create an interactive filter for this report. And I want the head of the retail to actually select this particular filter, where he can select the country and then play around with how the performance for different countries looks like, and so on. All right. And I will also allow him to play around with the different timeline, for which I will give him some access to actually play around and tweak and see how the performance. Now you can see when this sales head or the retail head gets to select probably Australia, he gets to see how the performance of Australia looks like. And if you look at the top 10 cities by profit, it actually gives me the top 10 cities of Australia itself. It no longer gives me New York, because Australia don't have New York, right? So it just gives me the top 10 cities of Australia. Likewise, if I click on Bangladesh, it shows me how the performance of Bangladesh is. And we can see that for Bangladesh, the same day delivery also takes an average of 1 day, which is not fair. So this is something which we need to highlight to the management, which can be improved. And probably this is going to improve our sales and profit throughout the year as well. And the retail head can also play around with the time. So if he wants to focus on a certain period of time, he can play around with this something called slicer. to actually see how the sales trend, profit trend, total profit, total sales, these are the metrics, looks like for that particular timeline. So you can see that it took me no time to actually create something like this, right? And I'm sure like everybody will be appreciating this fact that it takes no time to create a beautiful report like this, which is highly interactive, which adds a lot of value. It allows to answer a lot of your business questions as well, right? So I'm going to stop the screen share here for this one. And I'm going to get back to the presentation. So now, if we got to answer the business questions of the head of the retail, it tells me that the months are June and December, because that is where the maximum sales has happened, right? And this is not intuition based, this is more data driven. So let's look at the future of data analytics. Where are industries being headed? Okay. So if we look at this slide, right, this slide shows the evolvement of digitalization and data analytics from the primitive digitalized era to where we are standing today. So the primitive digitalized era, if you look, was purely reactive, which was prone to a lot of errors. So if you see the light blue shaded region, that's what measures the error. With digitization, we were able to take certain decisions. We were able to conclude certain things from the data. Obviously, the chance of error is far less and it's more accurate. So with digitization, accuracy increased, and the modern digitalized era is more data driven, relies on data to make powerful models and take better decisions. So let me talk about the top 10 data and analytics trend of 2021. So the top 10 trends can be actually bucketed into 3 segments, where we have accelerating change, where we are talking about smarter, responsible, and scalable AI, composable data and analytics, data fabric as the foundation. So we can see that with increased digitization, data and analytics leaders are increasingly using data fabric to help address a lot of high level questions related to the business. Higher level of diversity is there, distribution and complexity of the data assets is there. So that's the background, that is the foundation. And then we can operationalize this using business values, where we have XOps, we have data and analytics as a core business function. And we are going towards that part. And finally, we have distributed everything, where everything gets connected. And Gartner predicts that by 2023 or 2025 at most, over 50% of the data and analytics leaders will comprise data created, managed, and they are going to use that in the edge environments. So that is where we are going to lead towards. No more, huge volume of hardware is required, but everything is coming into an edge device. So if we look at the evolution of the industries with data, we can see that we have already entered the 4th gen industrial revolution. So the first gen was more on mechanization, steam power. The second generation was more of mass production. The third generation saw automation a lot. And today where we are lying is more of bots that are being deployed in warehouses, IoT devices that are being deployed, and things like that. Right? So that is where we are leading towards. So how the adoption of analytics looks like. So we have seen what is data analytics, what is the benefits of using data analytics, how organizations can answer questions based on data analytics. Let's look at how the adoption of analytics looks like and how business can actually adopt data and analytics. So the question usually organizations try to figure out is that, where do we start from? Now, all organization can start really low. And if you look at this triangle, if you look at this pyramid, at the bottom, you should maintain reliable data first. And then probably deliver a first level insights by creating certain dashboard. You try to understand your business better by creating these reports, these dashboards. You can start and slow by creating some dashboard building some small scale project to show the value of data analytics, to show what value um, these analytics tool can bring into your business, and then probably you can scale the deployment, build a system and product that is working end to end. But definitely you can start off by doing some smaller projects. And definitely we need to learn to create something that I created just now, and there are a lot more to be created. It's not only what I have shown you now, but then uh, when you say that you want to detail these visualizations, yes, you can detail this visualization a lot more, which visually tells you how the metrics are. You can do a lot of color formatting, which is not very straightforward, which needs to be learned, right? So if you try to, or if you learn Power BI, then you got to create something like this where you have the metrics, you have the KPIs, the color formatting are so soothing to look at, and then these color formatting are not stagnant. It's not static, it changes as well based on the selection you are making. So these tickers that you see here, these markers that you see here, can be changed based on whether it is an upward trend or it is a lower trend, and so on. And what happens if you don't know how Power BI performs and what are the different components of Power BI, how to use them? Then probably you end up creating something like this, which is cluttered, too messy with lots of information. The color formatting don't really have any sense. And we don't want to disappoint our stakeholders by creating something like this, right? So we must learn Power BI in order to create something beautiful that adds a lot of value to your business as well. So thank you, everyone. That's about today's webinar from my end. Do hit up for any questions, and I'm going to pass over it to Aditya in the next few minutes. If there are any questions, please feel free to let me know as well.
Okay, if anyone has any questions, please do post up on the chat. All right. I'm going to share my screen to just try to close off the session and provide some more information. All right. So I'm sure that at the end of it so far, you've been mesmerized by what Gauri has shown you, right? Because it's doing something with ease, and you're able to do it like really, really fast. And this is what you've got to learn as well. So if anybody's interested, to pick this up for you or for your organization, we do have an extended course that can help you. And if you are a local Singaporean or PR, this is funded by IBF as well. So a list of upcoming classes is what you see on the screen. So we do have both formats of classes. We have the virtual live online for those people who would prefer to be at the comfort of their home and still be able to learn. We also have physical classroom sessions where you actually come down and then we do it face to face, right? So some people would prefer that. So based on your preference, you could sign up into one of these. Let me give you a little more details about them. So each course is 2 days long. We either have it on a weekend, as the first one here specifies, or we have it on a weekday as well. Depending on your comfort, again, you could join into either one. Now, for those people who are working and who would like to probably spend the evening after work, we do have that format as well. And we've kept that online because we don't want people to rush here and there. So, it starts at about, 6:30 to 7, some days at 6, and that would be 3 to 4 hours in the evening. And that would be, across 5 days. And that would help you learn Power BI more thoroughly as well, right? So those are the different formats. Those are the upcoming dates in the next few months. So if you want to get the jump at the first class, then please feel free to do so. I'll be providing a link to you as well. Now, just to give you a little bit of idea about the costing for those who are interested. So the original cost of the course cost is about 750 Sing dollars. Now, cost after funding is from 80 to 200 over dollars, just a little bit over 200. And that balance is also claimable, SkillsFuture claimable. So if you are a self-sponsored individual, sorry, this should be self-sponsored. If you are a self-sponsored individual, then the cost for you is either 80 or 160, depending on your age. So if you are 40 and above, that would be about $80. You can claim that through SkillsFuture. If you are below 40, then you got to pay 160. Again, you can claim that through SkillsFuture. If you're company sponsored, then it ranges from 127 to 202. And on top of that, if you sign up for any one of the three classes, there's also an additional $10 per hour training allowance grant, right? So if you are representing your organization and you want a lot more people to, kind of come and join, then that would be great. We can help you customize as well. Why should you learn with us? I think this is something really important. Firstly, because we have amazing trainers, very experienced, and we can cater to a diverse group of learners. Secondly, we provide support throughout your learning journey. Even though it's a short duration course, we still provide you post-course support, we provide you pre-course support, and so on. Number three is, we'll make you part of our ever-growing family of learners. So you get access to a channel where you get the latest in tech. You'll get access to more courses and our videos and so on. And then, in the case that you require some assistance from our placement partners as well, we can help you with that. So if you're a mid-senior professional and looking for something, we can get you in touch with our placement partners to help out. So if you are interested, then please go ahead and scan this form and fill up the details. I'm also going to be putting the link for that form on the chat, so you can actually fill it out as well. There you go. So it's on the chat. If you're on your phone, you can scan the QR code. The form captures details required to give you more information about the funding, to give you more information about different payment methodologies and so on. So please take your time to fill in that form. And we do expect you to continue your learning journey and be part of a larger community of learners by going through this course. And we obviously very much love for you to join us and learn more. So as you saw, Gauri did a small glimpse, right? So imagine what you could do in 16 hours and then beyond that. All right, so that's pretty much it for today. If you would like to get in touch with us for any other requests, you could reach us at these details. So you have a phone number and email address. You could visit the website for more information as well. And we will be having such webinars in the future. So if you would like to pass this message on to your colleagues, please do so. And if you have any questions, do reach out as well. So thank you very much for joining today. And we highly appreciate the time that you've taken. So have a good rest of the day, and we hope to see you take on this as a pathway in your learning journey, and we hope to see you during class, right? So again, I'm just going to hang around at the sign up slide where you can fill the form, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and we will end the webinar on that note. Thank you once again.